The one who moves is going to resent you for the whole relationship.
Right.
And you're going to break up anyway. And then they're going to stay in your city. And now you have to see them. And the whole reason they're there is because of you. And welcome to the very first episode of My Favorite Couple. Mm-hmm. The pilot episode.
It is.
Hopefully not the last.
Right.
But it's the first one.
Yeah.
So you guys may know us from the Riley Black Project with Krystal and
John. Yeah, so we have it feels very weird to not be in the Riley Black Project shirt.
Yeah.
I had to go into the depths of my closet to find something else. But yeah, we've had a laser podcast, not laser hair removal, laser CO2 fiber,
laser
cutter
and engraver.
We've had that for 4 years now.
Yep.
So we had success in that one, and we've always, once we got the podcast bug and tried one ourselves, we've always wanted to try one on a more broad subject.
Yeah, more general.
Not so niche.
Right.
And
because partially it's because our friends and family all want to hear, let me hear your podcast. I'm like,
right.
You're gonna be bored because we talk about lasers.
Right.
And,
so
unless you're a small business, because then it kind of lends itself to that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's not really. It's very niche. No one really
Right.
It's not for everybody. But this one is.
Yes.
Well, as long as you're in a relationship. If you're single, I guess you could listen and dream.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, even if you're single, I don't think it's going to be only for people who are in relationships.
Right.
It's going to be for people who are struggling with dating, who are struggling with maybe trauma from relationships. I feel like it's going to kind of be for anyone. And by relationships, we don't mean only love relationships.
Right.
We're probably going to talk about, siblings, family.
I could do a whole podcast on that.
Exactly. Yeah. He has some juicy, family topics.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that stuff in general, and making it more broad and just kind of expanding it and, not having to keep it so niche will hopefully be fun. Also about parenting, because parenting two feral kids is not for the weak.
Yeah, we have 2 boys.
So we'll talk about that.
At the time, at the time of this recording, they're 7 and 3.
Yeah, and they're great. I mean, this morning we had an amazing morning.
Yeah.
There was no yelling. You asked them to, put their shoes on. They said, okay.
Yep.
We said, hey, come here, give daddy a hug and kiss. We're going to head out. Okay. And the tiniest bit of fighting in the car. And I was like, come on, guys, we've been having a really good day. And they worked it out and they were fine. And they're like, look, mommy, we figured. And I was like, keep it up.
Right. Let's keep that energy.
Because mornings be rough.
Yeah. They can be.
But yeah, I mean, this is something we've wanted to do for years. But why is it? What happened to the screen?
I don't know why.
I don't know where I left off before we had technical difficulties. But we wanted to do this, for a few years. We kept putting it off, waiting for the perfect time. And there's no perfect time. We initially I finally was like, no, we're doing it this year. We're going to be doing it. Because, we were telling all of our current listeners on our other podcasts and other friends, we're doing this. I posted it publicly, to keep myself accountable. We wanted to release the podcast on Valentine's Day. No, Valentine's Day came and went. We had APA. I thought we were going to record all the episodes as soon as we got back from a conference. I'm saying APA like you guys know what APA is.
Listen, this is the first episode. There's going to be a lot of crossover.
There is. But just life was crazy. I think I got sick. There was just a whole bunch of stuff. This eye thing, I'm wearing glasses and very minimal makeup because I've been dealing with an eye issue for over a month. I wanted to wait until that went away so that I could wear contacts and feel and look somewhat normal. And I just don't know when that's going to happen. So we're recording it, and now our new goal was to record and release this by our anniversary, which is June 6th.
So if you're listening to this after,
we tried.
If the little date says it wasn't updated until after that date, then we didn't make that goal. But at least we recorded it before then.
We did, yeah. So we're already 5 minutes in, so we should get to why the heck we're here.
Who
So
we are.
our first episode will be about how we met.
Yes.
And we kind of have a crazy but cool
Yeah.
story about how we met. So if we didn't already say it, my name is Krystal.
I'm John. Hence, Krystal and John.
Yes. And we've been married for...
It'll be 11 years.
11 years, and I guess together and met 14
right.
years ago.
Do we have to renew?
Renew what?
Huh? Like the marriage stuff?
No.
You have to renew like a light? No?
No. Why?
Just wondering.
Would you?
Option. Some days.
Listen,
on when.
we just did.
Depends on when.
You're an asshole. We just did we actually did renew. We renewed our vows last year.
Oh, that was my out? Damn. I thought that was a party.
Nope. I mean, it was,
Okay.
but, you know.
So do I got to wait another 10? Like at 20?
Listen, you're never getting out.
Okay.
Just come to terms with that, okay?
Right.
So, how did we meet?
I said hi.
No.
So 2011, right?
Yeah.
2011. I was me and the boys.
We went on a guy's trip.
We went on a guy's trip to Vegas. Me and some coworker friends. It was 4 of us. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
4 of us. We went to Vegas. You know how it is in offices. You always talk about, going on all these vacations, and then everyone starts
Because you become friends with
backing out.
them, and
Everyone starts backing out, and
Yeah.
you never know, whatever, this and that. And I think my buddy was about to go into the Army.
Mm.
I think it was around that time, or he came back. I forget exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think he was going to the Army, or he had plans to. So we really had to get this trip in the books, and if we're gonna go, we're gonna go. So we planned it. It was my second time going to Vegas. Another one of ours have been to Vegas regularly, but for 2 of them, it was their first time.
Yeah, and I went regularly with my sister, like almost every year since I was 21. Yeah, at least me and my sister. The year I met you, it was just me and my sister.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so we're in Vegas, and this is where it's like, this is where the crazy part of the story like happens, because we were in between 2 spots. We were in between going to Tryst in the Wynn Hotel where we met, or going to Tao in, I don't even know where the Tao was or is.
Oh yeah, I don't remember what
I forget
hotel it was
where-
in, but we
what
were
hotel.
doing the same too.
You were gonna do the same too?
Well, yeah, I think it
Between
was
Tao
between
and-
Tao, Tryst, and one other club. I think.
That's crazy. That part I didn't know
Yeah.
that you guys were thinking about Tao.
Yeah, we were thinking about all of them. Which one was the easiest to get to, which one was the cheapest to get in. We didn't really have to worry about how much to get in, I don't think, because
you're girls.
yes,
and-
but we also went with a friend that we had met on a previous Vegas trip, and he lived in Vegas.
Okay.
And he kind of had like the in a little bit, so he was able to get us into the club when we didn't have to wait in line, like that kind of stuff.
And we did that thing where you pay someone on the street $50 and they give you like the
coupon booklet almost.
Yeah, the cards to get in.
Yeah.
So that's why for us it was between those 2, because we had the coupon thing.
Right.
And ultimately we picked Tryst because our buddy had been to Tao tons of time. He's like, hey, it's a great thing. I've never been to Tryst, so I don't know. And we were like, well, since you've never been and we've never been, let's all go together for the first time and see what it's about. And then also we had the fail safe of so with our room key, the hotel, the club in the hotel was free for us to get in all night. So we just had to show our room key and we could get in. No, in our hotel. I forget what it was called.
Oh, okay.
There's a Planet Hollywood, whatever it was called. And we would literally end every night just going upstairs to see if it was popping or not.
Right.
Because it didn't cost us anything.
Yeah.
So we go in. If it was dead, we just go to the room. If it was popping, we stay for a while.
Yeah.
So we went to Tryst, and we were hanging out, having a good time, and then saw you on the dance floor. You were dancing with that friend.
Yeah.
That was there and then your sister, which I didn't think was your sister.
Side note, thought was my boyfriend.
Yep.
He was
I
not.
thought. Well, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what the situation was.
Yeah.
But I thought you 2 were together. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were your sister. I didn't think you guys were sisters at all, because you guys look completely different. Knowing you now, you look like your mom and she looks like her aunt. So it's like,
that's and my dad,
and your dad. That's why you guys look completely different. Right. But yeah, so we met you in the club or whatever, and we hung out and danced, and and did the, just hung out at the club all night, pretty much all night.
Yeah.
And then right before we left, because the club was getting a little
packed.
It wasn't getting rowdy. It was a little packed, and by
people were drunk.
Yes, and
and getting annoying.
And we're you could tell they're not used to the club atmosphere.
Right.
So they didn't have club etiquette.
Any kind of etiquette. Yeah.
And I mean, not to say that we were like party animals, but we would frequent the clubs every weekend in Miami. So it was getting, I was like, listen, man, one more person, I think it's time to leave, because if one more of these
bumps into me,
MFers bumps into me or something, and especially this one group that was right behind us. Because
they were super annoying.
And we had already given them the, hey, like, you're bumping us, like, chill out. I get it.
Yeah.
I remember my first time at a club too.
Yeah.
But they kept doing it afterwards, and then it starts to feel personal, and we're like, you know what, just in case, it's time for us to leave. And then my buddy ran over.
Sorry, I cannot stop yawning. I'm so tired right now.
My buddy ran over. Sorry to bore you with
You're
our
not
story.
boring. I love our story.
My buddy ran over to grab your number.
Well, and the funny thing is that I not that I didn't like John, but John was not my type, and I was not necessarily his type either. He didn't know that I was a white girl. Apparently, he thought I was Spanish.
I thought she was Spanish.
And I typically dated black men. And your friend, who was a black man,
he's transitioned now. He's white.
He came up and asked for our number so that we could meet up again, sometime during the trip. Because we both had kind of just started the trip, or it was soon after we got there.
Yeah.
And so we exchanged numbers. And then 2 days later, we decided to try and meet up. You guys were walking the strip. Yeah. We were doing
it was our
stuff.
It was our last night.
Doing a bunch of activities.
It was our last night. We were leaving in the morning.
And so we were like, oh, hey, let's meet up at the Ice Bar.
Right. We had done souvenir shopping since it was our last day. And while in New York, in the New York hotel, we saw this cool ice bar thing, and we're like, oh, we got to come back here tonight.
Yeah. And so we were like, oh, okay. We looked it up. There was one right next to their hotel.
Yeah, fun.
So
that's not the one we saw.
We went there, and mind you, if you've ever been in the Ice Bar, it's literally the size of this room. It's tiny.
Yeah.
And so when you walk in,
bar. You see everybody.
You can see everyone. If someone says they walk in, you see them.
Right.
And so, you weren't allowed to bring in your phone. So I smuggled in my phone so that I knew when they were there or approaching. And they're like, oh, we're here. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Because I'm right here. And you're not.
No, they're here. And I'm like, maybe they're in the outside bar part. So my buddy goes out there, comes back, says, no, they're not. They're not there.
Yeah. And so then while we were waiting to figure out what to do for that, we were waiting for you to arrive.
They kept texting us back. We kept texting back and forth.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they were ghosting us.
Yeah,
and oh yeah, we're here totally. But it did feel like that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that it's you're saying you're here, but I can see the entire bar.
Right. I can see that you're not.
We've been outside, you're not. And
right.
We didn't think there was another ice bar by the same name.
So then I went and asked the bartender, I was like, is there another ice bar? Because a friend said that they're here, but they're not here. Right. And he was like, yeah, there's one down the strip. Then we figured out we were at the one right next to your hotel
that we didn't know about.
We didn't know that there was two, but we also we kind of assumed that would be the one you'd go to because it was near your hotel.
Clearly you didn't know us.
Yeah. And then my sister ends up meeting someone at that bar and kind of ruined your guys' plan.
Well, because if you know anything about guys, we usually pick one.
Right.
And then that's kind of how we go. And then you guys show up and plus one over here. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, well, sorry, sir, you are out.
So we met up at, it was called the Rock Bar.
Yeah.
And they had amazing food, by the way.
Yeah,
they had a Doritos mac and cheese.
I think we went to that restaurant every day.
So good.
At least once a day.
I understand why, because it was delicious.
Yeah.
And so then we ended up we were talking there forever. Your friend, Keith, he didn't have a voice.
Yeah, he lost his voice. Don't know how.
And so it made it much easier to basically only talk to you because he couldn't talk very much.
And also,
and the other two friends were super quiet.
And his girl was chatting with the guy she brought.
Yeah, so, my sister.
So, yeah.
And then she ended up walking him to his room.
Right.
Because he was actually leaving like then. He had like a super early flight.
Yeah.
And that was the first time we ever split up. And we've never split up.
And me and Keith looked at each other like, she's just leaving her like that? Okay.
And
this
is then
interesting.
we ended up, we went and got a bottle. And these guys, so they wanted this video of them going up and down the escalator.
It was all a ploy.
And the whole time they're planning whatever.
What do we do? No, we were like, what are we, like, her friend left. There's no, like, what are we going to do? Like, what?
Nothing.
Do we say? No, like, what do we do? Like, are we
right.
Are we going to go somewhere else? Are we waiting for your sister to come back, who you said was your sister, but she doesn't look like your sister? Like, we didn't know, like, what's going to happen. Do we just leave you?
Right.
Do we just leave you out in Vegas? Like what's the plan? Like, if we
you guys were going to leave me?
We didn't know what to do. Like you were there. And your sister left.
Right.
So
you're stuck with me.
Like, what are we? Are we?
I don't
know.
Are
you leaving? Like, what's going on? And then, like, do we say, hey, let's go back to the room? Because everything was closing. That's another thing too. It wasn't like,
it was
let's
super
go
late.
to like the reason we left the Rock Bar was because
it closed. And it was like 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah. So it's like, what do we do now? Like, do we? And I think it was a Sunday. Too,
I think so.
So like everything was like closing. I'm like, so what do we tell her to come back to the room? She's not gonna come back to the room.
And I did.
Yep.
I don't know what the fuck I was thinking.
And she came up to the room.
I did. Yeah. And then nothing happened.
Yeah, you took your shirt off.
I had a tank top underneath, and it was to show my tattoos.
That's how it started.
I didn't even kiss him on this trip, guys. Like,
we stayed up till 7 in the morning. Your sister came to the room.
Yeah, probably around like 5.
Yeah, your sister came to the room, and we like just hung out. We drank.
Yeah.
We were leaving in the morning. I think we were leaving like at 8 or 9 in the morning.
Yeah, you guys were gentlemen.
We walked you back.
And you did the walk of shame with us and walked us back to our hotel, so we didn't have to walk by ourselves.
It was so crazy because it was like Vegas, behind the scenes of Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas at 7 o'clock in the morning is so weird. Yeah. Like, there's all these like joggers that are like healthy and doing shit, and then there's like the drunk people from the night before. Like, me and my sister were still in our like sparkly tops from the club.
We were in our tuxedo t-shirts because that's what we wore that night.
Yeah. So it was, and then I remember it was funny because I was like, you dropped us off at our hotel, and it was the awkward, like, how do we say goodbye?
Right.
And I was like, hope he doesn't kiss me, because I wasn't, like, sure, like, how I felt about you.
And I was getting those vibes. I was like, I don't know if I should kiss her now.
Yeah. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. So
we exchanged numbers.
Yep.
But then apparently you were already, like...
I was like, I wanted more time to see, like, where it would go, like...
Right.
Like, what's going on? Because I figured, I'm like, well, she's going back to Colorado. I'm going back to Miami. That's it. I was like, I would like one more time to like hang out.
Yeah, you were telling Keith, I want one more day.
Yeah, I'm like, can we stay? How can we extend this trip?
but you guys, were leaving. You were
leaving too.
Yeah,
just
but
just
later
like
in the day,
in the afternoon. Because it was a shorter. You're right there.
Yeah.
And funny. That's funny too. Our layover from Miami was in Denver.
Yeah.
I now go to every time we go to that terminal. I'm like, this is like where. Yeah. Who would have thought that trip meant that I was going to be in this terminal like all the time now?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So then he texted me when he got home, and we talked a little bit, but then we had made a plan to we did talk that weekend.
We did that whole 3-hour talk thing.
We did. And I was like, oh, okay.
I met like all your friends over the phone.
Yeah. Eventually, yeah.
It was like being in high school all over again.
Yeah, and then we saw quickly that there was some interest, and it was like, okay. And so then I booked a trip to go see you like 2 months later.
We kind of did that thing where it was like, all right, I book a trip, but then you book a trip.
Right.
So that way
So I booked a trip for July, and you booked one for August.
August, right.
And it was funny because it was a couple days before the trip. And so I'm telling all my friends about this, and now we're talking like all the time. And my friends are like, I and then they'd ask like, oh, what does he look like? And tell them what you look like. And they're like,
that's not what I had envisioned.
Okay. And so then it was time to go see you. I remember one of my coworkers, Alicia, she asked me and she was like, do you have a hotel booked like just in case? And I was like, no. Like I didn't have any kind of plan in case like you were a weirdo or it didn't work out or like we did everything way different than I normally would. I've made some risky choices in my life, but like, this one was like, he could be a complete weirdo. You don't know this man.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. So I showed up and we had a great time. And man, the culture shock.
That was amazing.
Woo! That was intense. Okay. Not only culture shock from like Colorado, but just like family dynamic and all of that. Yeah. So like the one he loves to tell people about is
there's a few of them.
Well, so I met all of his family at first, right? And Cuban, Spanish, whatever. Yeah. And so I expected-ish like the kisses on the cheek from family,
right, okay.
But I didn't think that that's how like nearly everyone greets each other.
Right.
And it's mostly like down south and your family or friends because like I think about even here, like you don't greet people like that in this city for the most part.
No, I mean unless you like know each other.
Unless you know each other.
So there has to be a level of like relationship before you like.
And so everyone, the little kiss on the cheek, the touch each other's cheek, and do a little kissy noise because you don't even really kiss their cheek. You just
cheek to cheek.
Yeah. And so we did that with, family, and then we finally got to his house. Mm-hmm. And then, mind you, every time you approach a door in Florida, all these lizards scatter, at least, especially down there, the little lizards. And I was like, it freaked me out. And you're like, you don't have lizards in Colorado? I was like, no.
I had never been to Colorado, by the way, at this point of the story. I had never been anywhere. So I had visited, Vegas and Cuba.
Yeah.
Were the only places I had ever traveled to.
Yeah. And so then I met his neighbor, which was actually a friend from high school, right? Yeah. And then she did the kiss on the cheek thing, and I was like, oh, it caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting it. And so he loved, to say that. And then again, there was everyone.
I look back at her to introduce her, and she has this face like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I come all the way from Colorado and you're kissing up on some other chick?
No, it was when she came in for me,
No,
too.
And then when you came in for you thought it was like a bug. You were like...
I didn't know what was going on.
And weaving.
Listen, my sister doesn't even hug upon seeing
I thought she was
family and friends. So he's when like,
when it was my turn, I thought she didn't like me. I'm like, hey, remember me from Vegas? Like, what's
she's like,
the deal?
Hi.
She's like, hey. I'm like, oh, okay.
So figuring out all of that, everyone would speak to me in Spanish first and then English.
Because you look like you speak Spanish.
Apparently.
Over down here.
Because even in it was like Denny's and they would, speak to me in Spanish. But so it was a lot of that, a lot of the culture differences. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about this one on a different episode, but your ghost greeted me at one point too, and that made things
Was that the first trip?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a little terrified. I didn't know what was under the bed. I thought it was a large rodent, and it wasn't. But and you took the longest shower, but that's because you were also pooping.
Yeah, but you have to have the shower on.
Right,
the first
so I was
time
like, oh my God,
house.
He's been in there. So I'm texting my friends who know I'm out there, like something's under the bed. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. But culture shock crazy.
And then I also had the culture shock going over to visit you in Colorado.
Yeah.
Because I did not know that. So I grow up in a very mixed atmosphere, culture, everything. Well, I guess not everything, because Colorado has a lot of Ethiopians. I've never met an Ethiopian before in Florida. But everything else I've pretty much met. Yeah. And then I go over there, and I don't take, I'm not out there with a clicker taking count of how many whatever I see. But then we go to the beer festival.
That's not a fair comparison either, because the beer festival was later, because that's in October.
Oh, was that?
So that was another trip. I think it might have been.
So the first one, definitely your sister.
But there was
Definitely your sister with the way
The
you guys say
greeting
hi
and-
and
yeah.
stuff like that, because she just says hi.
Right.
And I'm not used to that. Like
Yeah.
not even like a handshake, a hug, nothing.
Right.
Just oh hey. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
And then what else? It's not nearly as diverse as South Florida, which again, I hadn't really noticed too much because my friends were.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, I had a couple white friends, but like
Right.
one of my good friends was Cambodian. Penny is mixed black and white.
Mhm.
What else? Shazia is,
Yeah.
Muslim, Middle Eastern.
Yeah. Liz is Ecuadorian.
Right, yeah. So it was like I had this
Yeah.
whole like mix of friends. Oh, Mike, Puerto Rican.
That's
So it was like,
Did
it
I
was
meet
all
Mike
this.
on the first trip? I don't think so.
I think so. Yeah, because
Yeah?
no, I was good friends with
Okay.
Lindsay and Mike even then.
Yeah.
So I think you did. But yeah, so like my close knit was, and so I
The
felt like
city
it
was far from.
it was not. But
They like to think
yeah.
they are.
So
They're
then
not.
basically fast forward that so we don't keep everybody on here forever because we want to keep it to like 30 minutes, right? Yeah.
Sure.
So anyway, we fell hard pretty fast.
Yeah.
And then it came to January of that next year, right? Yeah, because it was within like the first 6 months. Like it got pretty like heated. We were doing regular visits back and forth, and then it got to the point where like, okay, what are we doing here?
Right.
Like who's gonna move?
Yeah. I'm
So-
not moving.
So we made checklists.
Did we do it like
We were supposed to do checklists of pros and cons of like who's gonna move, because like I was in school, I had like my career like set.
Yeah.
You had kind of your career set, but like but you were renting, so it was a little bit easier for you to possibly like. So we were just tossing around all the things,
Right.
and it came time for his list to be due. And he texted me one morning and he was like, oh, I sent you an email. I sent you the email. Did you open it yet? And he knows I didn't open it because
I know what the reaction would have been.
We're still good, but not good as soon as I opened it. He broke up with me by email.
Yep.
Guys.
To whom it may concern.
And quoted Rihanna, "We fell in love in a hopeless place." Every time that song comes on.
That was a banger.
It was a banger, but you ruined that song for me for years.
It's a banger. It's a great song.
It's a banger now that I can laugh about, but
yeah.
So he broke up with me by email.
Yeah, because
it wasn't gonna work.
I was not going to Colorado. And
he didn't want me to go out there because it was too much pressure.
I didn't want the pressure, right, of like someone moving.
Yeah.
There was no way I was considering moving. Mm-hmm. There's no way I wanted someone to move and have that pressure, because I'm not really willing to, like, if it doesn't work out here, okay, then we go over there and try to. I'm like, no, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
I did eventually go. Yeah. But
so,
I wasn't ready at the time.
Then a couple months go by, and
she tricked me
we
again.
Talked here and there. Not trick you.
She tricked me again.
We talked here and there, but just definitely not as much as we did
not daily
before. And I had texted him because my friend and I went to the club, and while we were there, we got into a fight. Not with each other.
That's not how it was sold to me.
I said Penny and I got in a fight.
That's it. That means you guys fought each other.
No. No.
You didn't say we got into a fight with some rando at the club. You said me and Penny got into a fight.
Yeah, it's still accurate, but
I'm like, that's a pay-per-view. I wish I would have been there.
So then he wanted to hear more. He wanted all the chisme. So
and then she's like, "Oh, we got in a fight at the club." I'm like, "Wait. You guys got into a fight with some random people." Because
Penny's still in the car.
Yeah. I'm like, "Well, you got into a fight with random people." Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, like you tricked me." I thought you and Penny like fought together.
Well, it worked. It wasn't. I didn't know I was tricking you, but then we started talking more.
She knew what she was doing.
I did not. Then we started talking more, and we eventually got back together. Then you ended up getting a matching tattoo.
Yeah.
On one of the next few trips to kind of like show. Well, and here's the thing.
Show
so when we were broken up, we both tried to date locally.
Yeah.
And it went terribly.
Yeah, I never never wanted a long
Me
distance
either.
relationship. I was
Yeah.
strongly against it.
Yeah.
I thought people
They were really. It
I
was
thought-
really fucking hard.
I thought people in long distance relationships were stupid. I
Yeah,
was like,
so did I.
what are you doing with you guys are never gonna move.
Yep.
If one
And
of
if
you
you
moves,
do move,
the other one's
it
gonna
doesn't
resent
like work.
The one who moves is gonna resent you for the whole relationship.
Right.
And you're gonna break up anyway, and then they're gonna stay in your city, and now
Right.
you have to see them, and the whole reason they're there is because of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, it was really tough, but we made it work, and like, you know, he called me every day, like on his way home, and we talked about our day. We had really good communication, like as far as that went. Again, we went out there and kind of like switched off every few months. The other person would go out there.
That was a lot in airfare.
It was
Luckily,
expensive.
Luckily, it was a lot cheaper then than it is now.
But not to Denver. Denver was still really
Denver was
expensive
always
to
pretty pricey.
fly out of and to
Yeah.
whatever. And so then he was like, okay, like he kind of made the decision that he was actually ready to move now. And because again, I owned my condo, I was going to school.
Well,
like, it was
your
gonna
job
be a
doesn't
lot.
transfer
No,
over.
and yours
your
could.
industry,
Right?
Not necessarily your job, but your
Yeah,
industry.
there's no oil and gas in Florida.
No, but there's TV stations in Colorado.
Right. And so we decided that it would probably be best for him. We even tossed around possibly going to Texas because my company did have a Texas office. So we were like throwing that around where we would both move and we both wouldn't have any family, but
so
then
no
we'd be really stuck with each other.
Advantage.
Right. But yeah, so then
it was just ultimately it was just easier.
Yeah, he tried to find a job from there, and that wasn't working. He would apply, and they'd either call and then find out that he was in Florida and willing to move, but they weren't willing to have the patience to like wait for that, because you didn't expect them to pay for the relocation. Just wait.
But I knew
could.
it was one of those things that stations do.
Right. Yeah.
That the practice is.
So, he ended up moving out once he got his taxes that next year and saved those up. And then again, still
my lease was also up around that time.
And he kept like applying to stuff, hoping something would stick like before he got there, and it didn't. He did month to month with his rent, and still No,
it was my lease was up, and that's when I moved.
Well, and so then your landlord was sad you were leaving because you were a really good renter.
They even offered to keep my rent the same.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not leaving because...
And they weren't raising it much.
Yeah.
It wasn't that big of a deal. I was like, no, it's not that. I'm like leaving. I'm not just moving down the street. I'm gone.
Oh, and then I almost forgot an important part of the story was that, so you were planning on coming out. You ended up driving out like right before Thanksgiving, November of, what was that? I don't even know what year
13.
that was. 13, yeah. You came to my Halloween party. Every year I had a Halloween party at my house, and it was like a big thing. And
so during our relationship, I always told her that like I'm not leaving, I'm not moving.
If I move,
like we're gonna get married, like we're gonna do it. Like it's not to see if things work, because I'm not gonna move just to like test things out.
Yeah.
So when I finally decided to move, I was like, well, man, so. Like, should I propose?
Well, and he needed to get the ring before he left because he was quitting his job and he wasn't going to get financing after.
Jared wasn't going to approve me for the ring that this one wants. So I was like, I was going to buy the ring anyway.
Yeah.
So I bought the ring. My mom went with me. So then I was like, do I do it on this like trip to visit, or do I do it once I'm there already?
Yeah.
And then I talked to her friends and her sister.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, no, you should do it on this trip, because she's very like impatient.
Yeah.
And that way she'll know that like you're really
actually coming. Yeah, because even every trip it felt like I didn't really believe you were coming until like you were on your way to the airport.
And then
because it always felt like you could always like cancel it and just something could come up.
And then Halloween parties are like, Halloween is like your big party for your friends, and everyone like looks forward to that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm coming out there for the party. It's a great time to do it. She's not expecting it.
Right.
So cool. I'll
only
do it
until
then.
I was getting ready. I was getting dressed. We were doing
one
Duck
of your
Dynasty
friends was
that
taking
year.
forever to get there.
And there was like whispering, and I was like, what are they talking about? And I was
Right.
like,
Because the
And I was
only
like,
person,
let me put on my like
the only
good
person that
makeup
knew,
just in case.
the only person that knew was your sister,
Right.
Because she had you go to Jared in
Yeah.
Colorado while I was in Jared in Miami
Didn't know that
to
part.
make sure we were texting back. She was sending me pictures of the rings you were looking at.
Yeah.
And I was sending her pictures of the rings that were like there so that we can like, so that you can pick one that I could buy.
Right.
So that worked out. So
That's
she
crazy.
knew that that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But then her friend took forever, and I wanted to make sure like her core friends were there,
Yeah.
along with her mom and stepdad. So this one friend was just taking forever. So finally I broke down and told Penny what the plan was and showed her like listen, I'm for real, like here's the ring. And she was like, what? Like her eyes bugged out. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, so tell her to get the fuck over here.
Yeah.
Tell her to hurry up.
Yep.
Don't tell her why, but just tell her to hurry up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I knew like something was going on, but I don't think I
Yeah.
really thought that like
that
at
was
all,
gonna happen?
like just in case. No, because even
Right.
though my brain was like, oh, could it be? Then immediately my brain was like, nah, no.
Well, it was.
They're just scheming like something else. And then so he proposed, and then he basically asked, would I marry him? And my answer was, I'm in camo.
Yeah.
Because I was in head to toe camo.
Duck Dynasty. Duck Dynasty was really big.
Although it was really comfortable.
It was.
Yeah. And then he did have to go back, but then he moved out and drove 3 days in November. Yeah. And then we got married in June in Vegas that following year. We didn't know where to have it because if we had it in Colorado, it was going to be like all my friends and family and some of yours. And if we did it in Florida, it was going to be the same thing. Right. And a couple people, every time we told people we were engaged, everyone was like, oh, you're getting married in Vegas. And our answer initially was no.
Yeah. Well,
but then
because it seemed like an elope. You know, like eloping and going,
right?
And then the cheesy, I'm going to Vegas to get married.
By Elvis.
Then we're like, well, wait a minute, we met in Vegas,
right? And so it kind of made sense, almost like how we were thinking of moving to Texas at first. It made sense to kind of have it in Vegas because then it was like neutral,
right?
Whoever could travel would travel, and it wouldn't just be my friends or your friends.
Right. That's how we picked our date. We're like, well, if we're gonna go to Vegas to get married, then we have to get married in Vegas.
We did on the day we met,
our anniversary of meeting.
Yeah. And it was an awesome wedding. It was amazing. Small. We didn't have any kind of reception. We had a champagne toast and cake. We didn't eat any of our own cake.
Nope. Heard it was delicious.
Right. Heard it was
the best cake
really
ever.
Good, but
don't know what it tastes like.
I do love that, like, our friends, they had a great time. They said it was one of the funnest weddings they had been to. We made sure, we don't know how to be serious. And so we made sure to like keep it fun. Both of our vows had like humor in it. The entrances and exits all had, dancing or fun.
Yeah.
And that's also when a lot of times where we got the name for this podcast is, especially at our wedding, everyone's like, oh, you're my favorite couple. I look up to you, especially like our single friends, like, I want a relationship like you, blah, blah, blah. And everything, it went great. It was a fun wedding.
Great,
and the transition to Colorado was a little slow, finding jobs and stuff. So you did a little miscellaneous stuff, the Home Depot.
I did some part-times here and there before
landscaping, and then finally got back into news. But I think that's a good wrap up of how we met, and then a good transition into
how
what
we almost
episode
got
2 is going to be about. And how we went from the perfect
my favorite couple
to we might get divorced before a year anniversary.
Yeah, that was fun. I can't wait for episode 2. I love revisiting that time.
I mean, so we'll talk about it obviously more on episode 2, but like it felt unfair to leave that part out of the story. It felt inauthentic.
I was fine with it.
Yeah, of course you were.
Fine with leaving that part out.
But it just, like
I've moved on. We don't need to talk about that anymore.
But it's part of our story, and it made a huge impact on our relationship positively and negatively. So we'll talk about all of that
in episode 2.
Episode 2.
Yeah. So thanks for watching, and
Especially any of the new people, if you hung out this long to listen to us ramble about how we met, and then especially to our TRBP fam, if you're listening to this podcast as well, we highly appreciate you spending so much time with us.
But not in this much detail.
They keep asking us. They're like, when the heck is that coming out? So they'll be happy to know that we finally recorded.
Now we'll see when episode 2 drops and when it's recorded.
Yeah.
We did one. Hopefully
I know. What time is it? Do we have time to just record it now? Is that too much?
I'm done. I've recorded 2. This is our second podcast.
That's true.
I'm done recording podcasts too.
All right. So
I don't know how to end this. So until we figure it out, follow us. Where do they follow us?
So it's going to be Instagram, My Favorite Couple Podcast, Facebook page, no group yet. Facebook page, My Favorite Couple Podcast, and then we'll also be on YouTube, and I believe it's the same name. So
okay, and Patreon.
Yes, we will have a Patreon. That is patreon.com/My Favorite Couple. I didn't do the podcast part to keep that one short. And right now we only have a 1 tier, $5 tier. That will be for early access after the first initial episode. And if you are already a TRBP patron, you are going to get a discount if you end up signing up for Patreon for this second podcast. So perfect. We'll figure out our intros and outros and all that shit later. We're doing it. It's not perfect, and so we're getting it out, and we'll figure out the rest of it as we go.
Done is better than perfect.
Exactly.
So with that, that's it. That's all we got.
That's it.
That's it. I don't want to end it the same way we ended the other podcast.
No, we got to come up with something.
You got to say bye. I know that much.
Okay.
I know that much from the other one. Well.
Hey, I love you.
Oh, I like you too.
How rude. Anyway, bye.
Bye. Love you guys.
What about me?
I love you.